A lot of bite-sized watchers told me Gwenom was their favorite Spider-Man commander, so when I saw that someone actually top 4'd with it, I knew I had to get their take. Today, Nebulous is joining us to break down his version of Gwenom, and we're even getting a sneak peek at some hypergeometric calculations behind the deck, because a lot of you asked to see how that process works. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video to see how you could win a free deck from Liquid Luck. Alright, hey guys, welcome back to Bite Size MTG, where we create magic content that provides unique takes and helps you become a better cEDH player. Today, we're diving into a commander from Spider-Man. It's Gwenom Remorseless, and we have a cool, fun guest with us. So, before we get into that, I want to welcome Jared, who's my co-host for this episode. Jared, do you want to introduce yourself and say hey?
Hey, I'm Jared, or JB Gartner on Discord. I'm just a cEDH nerd that likes playing with Zach and the other guys down here in SoCal, and I like math.
Sweet. Hell yeah. And then today our guest is Luke, who ended up top 4ing with this deck. I think it's the only Gwenom entry so far, and it was a top 4 of a 64-person tournament. So pretty awesome. Luke, congrats, by the way, and why don't you say hi?
Oh, thank you. I'm Luke, probably better known as Nebyula on Moxfield. I play all sorts of decks. In fact, that Arkham win a month ago, that was me.
Congrats, yeah. Awesome.
I decided to play Gwenom because I thought it was good. I don't know what else to say.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I heard that this top 4 was not a top 4 completely, but it was more of a draw. So there's a world where you absolutely win that tournament.
Yeah, it was a draw. Also, I do believe, spoiler alert, I do believe I punted in finals. We can talk about that when we get to it.
Gotcha.
But
well, let's start with I'm going to share my screen, and we're just going to hop into your deck list. And I just want to start off with the commander itself. So there was a lot of cards from Spider-Man. It felt like this set was a very interesting set in that it got a lot of attention negatively. Like, people were like, oh, there's no good cards in here. Like, we hate this set. But to me, there was a lot of cool cards. And this one, I think, is the coolest one. A lot of people who watched our last video breaking down Octomom were commenting like Gwenom is the coolest card. So it was so cool to see you have this result, because I was like, this is something I would want to play. So why don't you give us a little sneak peek into why you picked Gwenom? Just for those listening, Gwenom is a 3 and 2 black pit for a 4/4 with Death Touch and Lifelink. It says whenever Gwenom attacks until end of turn, you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play cards from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Or mana value rather than pay its mana cost. So yeah, Luke, just talk to us about Gwenom a little bit. What made you want to pick this up?
So I was actually pretty low on this card when it came out. Mm-hmm. It's mono black. It's Storm. I don't want to feed all those Rhystic studies, right?
Yeah.
Winning seemed hard. I was actually going to play Jackal, the blue-green commander that came out right up until this Tuesday before the tournament. We have a college Magic club, and I was like, I just want to play something funny.
Nice.
So I put together a Gwenom list, and it felt really good. Mm-hmm. The idea is you get a swing in with Gwenom, you just win. The deck is consistent enough that once they've lost their ability to interact, you just win. My huge part of the deck is I feel completely safe storming into Rhystic Study. I feel completely safe storming into Mystic Remora. You're not going to stop me with counter magic. I have a high enough density of win cons that it's just you're not gonna beat them all, especially with the number of defense grid effects, which also act a little bit like a win con. That felt pretty good considering the meta's slow. This is a more resilient turbo deck than anything that I would have expected. It's got its problems. Tyrannith Magistrate kind of sucks.
Yeah. Or people
fixing Bauble sucks.
Yeah.
Digger's Cage sucks.
Yeah.
We try to mitigate that a little bit, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah. Okay, sweet. I want to kind of kick this to Jared because he is going to be running a hypergeometric calculation on Gwenom. For those of you who don't know what a hypergeometric calculation is, like me, Jared, why don't you tell them what the heck you're going to be doing?
Yeah, essentially anytime we're tuning a deck list, usually our decisions are based on vibes, right? How many lands do we run, right? How many combo pieces do we run? What's our combo density package? What should our tutor package be? What's the overall game plan? And to be fair, I thought people did this stuff already, because otherwise I was like, well, how do you guys know that Rogsai should be playing however many lands it's playing right now? You play Rogsai, Zach. How many lands do you play?
Like 23. 24, however many everyone else is playing.
How do you, yeah, that's right. However many everyone else is playing, right?
Yeah.
I think And I always thought that people who came up with these numbers were doing this or running these calculations. And then I all of a sudden learned that people aren't. And that's a problem because when you play constructed Magic, you definitely need to run these, especially for land count and things like that.
Yeah.
So a hypergeometric calculation is just a really fancy way to say, what is the chance that I will randomly draw without replacement something from a population of things? If I have a certain number of draws, what are the chances of success that I draw that thing without putting it back? So if I have a jar with jelly beans and there's 20 jelly beans that are red and 30 jelly beans that are yellow and so on and so forth, what are my odds of drawing, let's say, a yellow and a green jelly bean than my first two draws? We call that a multivariate intersection, where what are my odds of drawing things from two different groups within a certain number of draws? That's essentially what we're doing here. We want to see what are the odds of a certain game state happening based on the number of cards drawn, so the volume of cards that you are seeing. Out of those volume of cards that you're seeing, what is the likelihood of a certain outcome occurring? And if that likelihood is less than what you would potentially like it to be, maybe we should tune the list to make that outcome happen more consistently. That's all we're doing here. The last thing I'll say about these things is that statistics are really hard for humans to interpret. So when we say things like, oh, you're going to get an extra 3% this or an extra, 20% this, it's hard for us to kind of interpret what that means. And so at the end of the day, we're still going to be making decisions based on vibes, but at least those vibes are informed by numbers. And we're going to do a comparison analysis between one package versus another package, comparing the two and seeing what are the differences between them. And when you compare numbers to numbers, that's when some of these statistics can be a little bit more helpful.
Okay, sweet. So Jared, what do you need, or what would you like to hear from Luke to help you inform these like hypergeometric calculations?
Yeah, so honestly, it's not about me at all. It all depends on what Luke's preferred game plan is with the deck and what questions he has that he would like to answer. Anytime we're talking about making tuning decisions or optimizing a list, it's always contextual to what the pilot's play style is, what we think might be right, what kind of situations we want to find ourselves in, and then just tuning the packages in the list to be more conducive to achieving the desired outcome.
So then, Luke, what is, maybe we jump into like kind of what the game plan is and what your play style is for this deck.
So luckily, it's pretty simple. This deck is not that complicated until it comes to storming off. I want a turn 2 Gwenom, or I want a turn 3 Gwenom with haste.
Yep.
I want to be attacking on turn 3 in a capacity, and I want that to instantly win me the game.
Sweet.
That's all I want in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The populations you're talking about that can, cause that to be problems is mana and lands, right? I had 2 Mold of 3s during this tournament where I just never hit mana. I think that was a little me getting unlucky, but also I would like to be able to hit, my fast mana consistently. I also would like to not hit 3 lands in a row off the top because the deck has a really hard time breaking that most of the time.
Okay, so I think what would be good is if we started off with, we can start with from one of two angles. We can start from the likelihood of a turn 2 Gwenom, just you being able to cast it. So the odds of you having access to 5 mana by turn 2 is something we can do. We can go a step behind that and say, okay, well, what does your desired keepable hand look like? And how can we calculate the odds of you drawing that hand based on the packages you're already running? And then we can also go into how likely is it that you're going to have a turn 3 Gwenom cast with haste? What are the necessary conditions for that to be met? So we can do maybe any of those 3 things as a start, and yeah, we'll see where we can go with that.
I'm definitely interested in the turn 2 Gwenom because I'm actually curious how often this actually happens.
Perfect. All right, can everybody see this right here?
Sure can.
Awesome. So this is from MTG Nexus. This is a resource that I think every single cEDH player, actually every Magic player, should be using. Basically, what you do here is you input the population size here. So in this case, 99, right? Because you don't have a partner. Then how many copies of the card are you running? How many cards are you going to be drawing or seeing? This is the visibility. And then we're looking at the odds to have a certain number of those things. So that's at the start what we're doing with this calculation. And then down here, this is the population size, which in this case is 99. I'm used to putting 98 because I do a lot of these things with Dargo Timna, and that's
You play
really
real decks,
annoying.
I get it.
No, this deck is real. We'll make it real. How many copies of card A, what type you're running, and how many copies of card B are you running? And then in the amount of cards you're drawing, what's the likelihood that you're going to get one of the card A and then one of the card B? And then looking at that percentage chance down here. So with that being said, why don't we first start off with your ideal opener? What do you want your opening mulligan to look like? What do you want to be in it?
I just want mana. I'm going to be honest, the other cards in my hand, I rarely pay attention to them. I am just counting to 5 like a good Atali player, but not to 7. It's just to 5. I'm just counting to 5, which means my ideal cards are like Dark Ritual, Mana Vault, LED. I'm totally willing to pitch my hand to just make.
Also, some culling the weak hands with all of these 0 drops were really good in my testing. It's a quick Gwenom.
100%.
Nice. Okay, so all of these things are going to be separate analyses. I understand that mana is what you want, but I want to get down to the nitty gritty of like how many lands do you want in your opener, right? Do you want 2 lands in your opener, or do you want 1 land and 1 accelerant, and what are the odds of you getting one of each? So we got to get into the nuts and bolts if we're going to be tuning this thing.
Sure. It's pretty hard to not, or it's pretty hard for 5 mana on turn 2 without 2 lands.
Okay.
In my experience.
Great.
It can happen, but
the other factor, I'm just going to jump in, Luke, just because I've been goldfishing this deck a ton, is the lands are not the same. Like, your lands are very, very different. Looking at something like Hall the Bandit Lord is almost a non-land.
It's not a land.
Yeah.
No, that's a Swiftfoot Boots.
Right. But then you look at lands like Peat Bog or Crystal Vein or Ancient Tomb or the other land that I forget that taps for 2 black mana and sacrifices, Ebon's Stronghold. Yeah. These are massive land hits where it's like I can turn 1 play this, turn 2 play a second land, and have 3 mana on turn 2. So I wonder how that calculates and affects it.
Beautiful. Let's figure that out right now. So, what we're going to do first is we got to take your average mulligan size. So, to what hand size would you say? You can just give you a ballpark, because these are just ballpark numbers we're going to use to help influence our vibe-based decisions. What would you say your average mulligan size is, Luke?
I generally say I was keeping anywhere from a 6 to a 5 most of the time.
Okay. So 6 to 5 most of the time. Let's lean towards 6. Okay. So you're keeping 6. Okay, and then you're drawing a card for your first turn. So that's 7, and then you're drawing another card, taking you up to 8. So by turn 2, you have access to 8 cards. Can we say that accurately?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here are your odds to have at least 2 lands by that point. So how many lands does the list run? Counting MDFCs, but not counting things like Hall of the Bandit Lord that don't count as real lands.
Let's see how many lands we can disqualify. I think it's just Hall of the Bandit Lord is the only land that I would probably just leave out. So it would be 22.
22. Okay. So your odds of seeing at least 2 are a little over half of the time. So 56.8% of the time, you're going to be seeing two lands within the first 8, but that doesn't count mulligans. So for your mulligans, for like your opening 7, because again, you always see 7 cards with your mulligan because the London mulligan is busted for some reason.
It sure is.
So if you want 2 lands in your opener, then that's going to be only happening 48% of the time, which is probably why you're mulliganing from 6 to 5 a lot. And so if you want 2 lands in your opener, then maybe the land count could change, because if we take 22, for example, is there any lands you were considering running or considering cutting from the deck? Are you content with your land count given these numbers now that you're seeing them?
It's important to note that the deck is a Tainted Pack land based, so it's kind of hard. The only notable land that I can think of that I did end up not playing was Shizu, Death Storehouse, because it's almost a swamp. So 1 land considering, and also I was just thinking of cutting Eben Stronghold. I know, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
It's so bad sometimes.
I know.
It's so bad.
Just strip mine yourself with an LG. You have no permanence in hand, and your Gwenom gets mind break trapped, and you're like, all right, good game.
Or draked.
Yeah.
So the chances you're going to see 2 lands in your 7 when we go up to 23 lands compared to 48.8%. Now that number jumps up to 51.53%. So it's looking like it's a little bit more than 3%, which I do similar numbers for Dargo Timna with this, honestly, because it's also kind of a Citadel deck, at least the way I like to play it. And so yeah, that extra 3% is equity across your mulligans, even when you go to 4, because you always see 7 every time because of the London mulligan. So with that in mind, it's important to note that if you were to go up to 23 lands, you would see an extra 3% in the mulligan, and if you risk it with 1 land in the mulligan, seeing 8 cards by turn 2, that number goes to 59.61% from 56.80%. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea here on where you're at in terms of land count. You're getting an extra, a little bit more than 3% equity if you choose to run an extra land. It's going to increase your odds of seeing 2 in the mulligan more, and it's also going to increase your odds by about the same amount if you were to risk it with a 1-lander and then find a second land within your first 2 draws of the game.
Okay, so Math Boy, if I cut a land, would that be the same? It would also be a down 3%?
So let's look at that, because I'd rather show you. So 21 takes you down, right, from compared 56 to 23. So if you were to run 23, you have 59.61% chance by seeing a second land by turn 2 when you're risking it with 1 land in the mulligan. That's what this is assuming. We go down to 21 lands. Now see that 59.61? Let's see how that changes. It's a little over 5%. So thinking about the difference between 23 versus 21, now all of a sudden you've lost 5% equity there. And then chances of seeing 2 lands in the mulligan when you're at 21 lands in the deck, now we go to 46%. So that's a change from 48% and some change that we had with 22 lands. But compared to 23, yeah, you lost over 4%. The question you'll have to ask yourself is, does going down to 21, if you were to run 21 lands, are you okay with a 2%, right? Because we're on 22 right now. So are you okay with a 2.2% loss in equity in the mulligan? If you are okay with that, then we keep the land count, then we can cut a land. But if you're not okay with that loss, then we, yeah, you get what I'm saying. We haven't gone to fast mana packages right now. We're just trying to figure out what your ideal game state is.
I don't really know what 3% is in vibes, but the number one concern with running more lands is breaking off of our Gwenom activation, which is not a compromise I'm willing to make. So my question is, what are the odds of me hitting 2 lands in a row, considering I drew 2 lands in my opener? I didn't draw any more lands. So if we take 2 lands out of the deck, and then what are my odds of hitting 2 in a row off of Gwenom?
So we have 90 cards in our deck now because we're assuming that we have seen 9 cards, right? Because you're 6 in the mulligan, then 7 for turn 1 draw, 8 for turn 2 draw, and 9 for turn 3 draw. So there are 90 cards left in the deck when this scenario is taking place. Will we say that's fair?
For sure, yeah.
Okay. So now if we go down to 20, right? Because we're assuming that there's 20 lands in the deck still when this game state is reached, okay? So there's 20 lands and 90 non-lands, okay? Now this is where things start to get complicated because for bricking on Citadel, we don't care about MDFCs, right?
True. This is fact. Yeah.
So now we have to do something different. So now we're on 23 lands. We have, assuming that we've taken 2 of them. So now we have 18 lands left in the deck. Is that right?
Yeah, let's say the 2 lands were MDFCs, though, for worst case scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Let's say the 2 lands were MDFCs for worst
were
case scenario.
MDFCs.
Okay, so worst case scenario is you have 20 lands still in the deck. Because this is the worst case scenario, right? Is that what we want to look at?
Yes, but Hall of the Bandit Lord is now a land again because it's all negative and no upside.
Yep.
So we have 21 lands in the deck, right?
Well,
the
now,
MDFC. The MDFC. I
correct.
get it.
We're assuming worst case scenario. So the 2 lands you had were 2 MDFCs, meaning that there are 20 lands still in the deck. Okay. So
for
sure. And this is assuming a turn 3 Gwenom swing. So when this game state is reached, you have 90 cards in your deck. 20 of them are lands. We need to see if we draw 2 cards from this point. What are the odds that we're having 2 lands in a row? Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Here's our odds of that happening. That's a Citadel deck if I've ever seen one.
Bro, that's how it feels. So I'm glad the math checks out.
Yeah. Now watch this. Let's say you were to run an extra land in this case. How does that compare? You increase your chances of bricking by 1%. Let's say you go down to 19. It really doesn't change a whole lot. So do you see how that works? So going down to 19 doesn't change your brick ability on Citadel all that much, right? Like we're talking a fraction of a percent, but it changes your odds of having 2 lands in the mulligan or by turn 2 by over 3%.
Maybe I should play some more lands.
Maybe you should or maybe don't take any out, right? Because this is assuming your current land count, and you could put 1 extra land in and increase. If you think that increasing your brick ability by 1% is worth the potential for your mulligans to be 3% better, then that's a decision that is positive EV. So
well, there's also an important thing to note here, is we have how many fetch lands? We have like 4 fetch lands. How many fetch lands is it? 5 fetch lands?
Yes. Yeah, you have 5 fetch lands, yeah.
There's 5 fetches in the deck, which all can remove a pile of 2 lands in a row.
True,
which is
but
also important.
You would think so. I mean, it is important because essentially what happens is it makes us redo this trial with 1 extra land. But this is assuming the worst case scenario. I think the more relevant thing here for us is that the subtraction of a land does more harm than good. I think that's the overall trend that we're seeing here. Because 100%. You were gonna rip let's say your 2 lands on the top. Like let's say it's a fetch land first. Okay, wonderful. Then you can reshuffle your deck, and then the calculation is done again with 1 less land, but then 1 less card in the population size, right? So again, all of these decisions are based on vibes, but what it seems to be saying to me is that if you are running 1 less land, it hurts the potential to enact your main game plan more than it does your ability to enact the game plan once it's already happening. That's just an opinion because these numbers aren't like objective, but that's my interpretation of what I'm seeing.
I can't help but agree.
Yeah.
This actually is helpful. I don't think I'm going to cut a land now.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
who knew numbers could help?
Yeah, who knew? But yeah, so things like that, right? Like that's important. And again, this doesn't consider even the fast mana package. Like we haven't even gotten into that. But those are the types of ways that I want people to be looking at these types of things. And I want to give people the tools and resources and sort of ways of thinking about these changes in the context of these types of calculations to make better tuning decisions.
Yeah, sometimes the vibes fail apparently.
What do you think about all that, Zach? I know that's a lot, but what are you thinking about all that?
Yeah, no, I think this is incredibly useful. Like the most important thing I took from this is if we're doing calculations to see what the upside is for this example of cutting a land versus the downside of bricking more on Citadel, like getting comparative swings of being like, oh, this is 3% better, and if you do it, it's going to be 1% worse for a different scenario in the game state, right? Because it's like you need to be able to cast Gwenom to be able to do the Citadel thing, and so that's more important than not bricking on Citadel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then also one other thing too is sometimes you want to see the odds of having 2 of them in your first 3 card scene, because I'm a Citadel player, and sometimes what happens to me is I'll go land and then this happens in goldfishing. Thank God this hasn't happened in a game yet. But sometimes I'll go land, I'll cast like this really bad spell, and then the next card's a land. So what are the odds of that happening in this game state versus 19 or 20 lands? So the odds of that happening around 11%. Versus, say, if you were to run 20. Yeah. So, again, it's like a 1% bump, right? Versus a 3% loss in mulligan equity.
Checks out.
Would be sad.
Man,
Holden Brow would be sad. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a pretty rudimentary calculation. Again, a lot of these decisions are still vibes-based at the end of the day, because who knows what's better for what. But that's the type of tuning decisions that we want our pilots to be making based on, these calculations. Yeah.
I also believe that this is a pretty, statistically significant deck where the statistics matter quite a bit because, I mean, you just have odds of being able to go through your deck and odds of being able to cast your commander early because that's all you really care about. So I think this is important.
And the odds of that happening, like you have to do a full-blown in-depth analysis. But when it comes to making these sort of micro-tuning decisions, looking at just a quick a quick thing like this can help you make like card for card decisions. Like in cEDH, I feel like every slot in the deck matters. It's a singleton format, so every one of your draws you want to be as impactful and conducive to your game plan as possible, and every package of cards that you're running should be conducive to making that game plan happen as well. And so I think that in a format like cEDH, anytime we're making these little micro decisions, like the deck is successful. It did very well at a tournament. I know for myself, like when I top 16 with Tassiger, like immediately that was the first time I ever top 16. Immediately the day after, I'm like making these little tiny micro adjustments, like swapping these card for card things. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, but like you do really well, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to deal. Oh, this one little card change, or like, what does this do, and things like that. So I think these types of calculations are most helpful for like these little micro decisions as well as initial land count when you're brewing. I think they're very, very useful. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I have kind of the opposite experience after a tournament when I do really well. I just like, I have like a list of like 10 cards. I'm like, these cards all suck. I want them all out. I'm too extremist.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually like the more important thing to be doing, because that's how you get real world results. And while hypergeometric calculations are incredibly useful and probably maybe one of the most underutilized resources when brewing a deck, getting real world experience with cards that might look good on paper but don't work at all in like play has been what's helped me the most personally. So I hear where you're coming from for sure.
Yeah, but this is an important resource. Like, I mean, it's a resource I've never used.
Same.
It feels a little foolish not to. Yeah.
And this is just scratching the surface. This was just with land count. We haven't even gotten to things like accelerant package, right? All of the like mana advantage you have. We haven't even gotten to all these little dorks like Bogwitch, or like these little ways to make mana. What do you got, like Blood Vessel?
Yeah, what's your problem with Blood Vessel, man?
Total banger.
Yeah, like we haven't even gotten to like all this stuff, because I think anytime you're running a deck like this, I would imagine, you correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's these cards that are like do nothing cards outside of the combo. And it's like, how many of those do you really need to run? Maybe you need to run them all, and they're all really great because your game plan, your forward plan is so strong. It doesn't matter how poor of a card quality the deck has, because you get access to all your cards through your commander. But then tuning those packages and saying, okay, well, is there any way I could be running better cards? Is it better for me to run a ton of bad cards like Ral or a lot of these Storm decks do? And what should those packages be?
I will say, I think that was the hardest part about building this deck, was the fact that it's pretty hard to know how many devoted combo pieces you need. I sort of took my best guess, but even after the tournament, I felt that I could, cut some of my bad cards and play more good stuffy things. I mean, I'm mono black, so how good stuffy can you get? But like,
no bad cards.
Yeah, no bad cards. That's a fire name, actually. NBC Gwenom, bro.
Yeah.
NBC Gwenom. Or ABC Gwenom, all bad cards.
There you go. Yeah.
That might be this list.
But they work together so well. Like I was saying, we just scratched the surface. I wish I had more time today, because this is the only time I had this week. But I would love to come back to this some other time or something to go more deeper and more in depth.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to give like a general intro to the hypergeometric distribution, the calculations, things like that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much more I want to do though. Oh well.
I know. I think on later episodes we'll probably do a full episode of this where you can really just go nuts. Well, Jared, I think we're going to segue. I have my hard cut off at 7, and I don't want to keep Luke super long. So I'm going to transition us here into going into kind of the deck breakdown from your perspective, Luke. And Jared, if you need to hop off, feel free to.
Later, guys.
It's good meeting you, man.
See ya. Yeah, it was good meeting you too,
see ya.
Luke. See ya.
Okay, dope. So I just want to jump into your perspective on this deck's strengths, weaknesses, game plans, and win conditions. I'll pull the list up and we can kind of just go through it. What you're thinking. All right. So what are Gwenom's strengths?
First off, it's very linear. You get to really just play your game plan every single time.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to make a lot of decisions until you're storming off, but even
Yeah.
then, you don't have to make that many decisions. So I think it's kind of a good tournament deck in that way. Even towards the end of the day when I was super tired, I was still just totally able to play this deck. I think another strength, I said it before, maybe I didn't say it before, it depends whether or not that gets cut, but
Yeah.
we have the
know.
ability to storm off breweristic study. The density of win cons, like between, Professor Onyx, Chain of Smog, between Grey Merchant, Broodlord.
Well, there's Citadel. Well, Gwenom is
Oh,
a
yeah, of
Citadel,
course.
right? So
Aetherflux.
yeah,
Aetherflux
yeah,
is the number one.
Aetherflux.
Aetherflux
Yeah,
is the best card
Aetherflux
in the
top.
deck. And some people might say, hey, Aetherflux, basically a one-card combo with your commander. Why would you need other win cons, right? If they got it, they got it. The answer is, if you just have such a high density of win cons, it doesn't matter how many counter spells they have.
Yeah.
2 of the rounds that I won, I beat like 6 counter spells because I just kept going. You just go through.
It sounds like so much fun. Just being like, okay, yeah, I passed on your Force of Will. Anyway, here's my Necropotence, and if you don't counter this, then I will just keep going.
Yep.
Here's a defense grid. Yeah.
Yeah, here's my defense grid. That's almost a win con. It's a thing they have to counter, which is really important. I find that to be a very strong part. I played Ral a while back, and it feels similar to that, where it kind of doesn't matter how many counter spells they have, but Ral has pinch points. This deck's pinch point is don't let me swing.
Yep.
Which
as soon as my Citadel's online, you're cooked.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if you remove my commander after that. That ability's just done now. I get to just go. Well, that kind of easily transitions to the weaknesses of the deck. Removal kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's tough. If people respect you the amount they should, they will mulligan for removal. They will mulligan for silence effects. They will mulligan for just, or one of their stacks pieces, like Bauble, Cage, Dranith. This deck has a really hard time beating Oppo. You might not see it immediately, but with the number of tutors, if every tutor in your deck turns into one of my win conditions disappears, kind of tough. We are playing as much as we can to deal with that, like cut down and push and fell to profane and stuff. And like Ugin, I found Ugin to be a pretty decent answer to some of these pieces. It doesn't hit the colorless stacks pieces, but it being more or less uncounterable, it only costs 4 life off the top because it gains us 3 back immediately. It also makes mana. It also can just like wipe a board. But all of these cards help us get out. But the truth is, you do kind of fold in some scenarios. It is the way it is. But you still have play. Like you can still play towards getting a Hoarding Broodlord, still play towards getting a One Ring online.
Sweet. Yeah, so that's kind of a sequitur into what are the actual factual win conditions. So we went over, I just want for people to, for clarity's sake. So Aetherflux Reservoir plus Sensei's Divining Top, where are you?
I will say, not necessary. You can't just Aetherflux people to death.
Yeah.
You will
just cast so much off your top.
Yeah. No, you don't even need the top. You can just oh, sorry, off the top. That's what you meant. Yeah. You are a Storm deck. Yeah. So
it's sick.
Aetherflux, you just cast a bunch of spells. It gains you back to life. Life is your only real pinch point at a given, like at a point. So this will just kill people. And it's obviously, if you want to make your life really easy, combos with Sensei's Divining Top. You lose a life.
It's just like locked up. It's pretty much back and forth between these two. So that's one. The other, I'm going to call this a combo, but Hoarding Broodlord, you have the Broodlord package. So that's Hoarding Broodlord plus Sacrifice right here.
Right there.
And then Saw in Half. What's the consideration around these cards?
Consideration is they're all actually pretty decent in the deck. Broodlord being a tutor off the top, pretty good. Had a game where I just, grabbed a Yogg Will and said, I'm just going to Yogg Will now with my Broodlord. And it was pretty good. It gives you a way of winning. I'm not the hugest on Pier. Pier is probably the worst card in the entire combo, right? Because for those who don't know, you cast Broodlord, you grab Saw in Half, you Saw in Half your Broodlord, get 2 tutors. One of them is Sacrifice. You sacrifice your Broodlord, make 8 black, cast Pier. Yep. It's a really complicated way of just saying I get to cast Pier.
Yeah.
But Pier normally will win you the game because it's just draw half your deck.
Yep. And then we also have Professor Onyx plus Chain of Smog. So for those listening, Professor Onyx is 4 black for a Planeswalker, 5 loyalty. It says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. There are some other abilities on this that are great, but the main part of this is that it combos with this card called Chain of Smog, and Chain of Smog says target player discards 2 cards from his or her hand. That player may copy the spell and may choose new targets for the copy. So even if you don't have cards in hand, you just keep copying the spell, targeting yourself.
It's another just actual factual I win button. Which sometimes it's good to have.
Nice to have.
I will say Professor Onyx also can start just gaining you life during your combo turn. Her effect is relevant there. Also, her tick up is a reset. So, if you brick, and this is your only way of getting through your brick,
Yeah.
It's not nothing.
I really like the functionality that you chose with these planeswalkers. Like Tezzeret is so underplayed right now. It's crazy. I don't know how more people aren't on this card. In this deck, this is just get my Sensei's Divining Top, right? Or it's untap my Mana Vault, or any number of things, right?
Yeah, it really opens up a ton of really interesting lines. Like if you have like a
Hmm.
turn one Tezzeret, you can go grab an LED and then play a couple artifacts, get a Lava Spur Boots off of it, and
Nice.
suddenly you have
Yeah.
a turn two Hasty Gwenom. I was very impressed with Tezzeret. It just does pretty much everything you could ever want it to do.
I completely agree. Why don't we go through a couple more like interesting synergies that you've included that I kind of saw? So, just from my perspective, we have some really cool cards that are essentially mana effects in this deck. Basil Sliver is one that's storing mana. The same is true of Blood Vassal. So these are effects that you don't need summoning. They don't need to be hasty to activate. You can just do it right away. Bog Witch is another similar effect, but you do have to tap it, so this waits a turn to be able to do its thing. And then the other one was Overeager Apprentice. And similar to these cards, you just discard a card from your hand, sack it, make 3 black mana. So tell me about these considerations for you.
So they more or less pull double duty because, it's not so hard to get 3 mana on turn one.
Mm-hmm.
For all the viewers, we want that turn two Gwenom. It's
Yeah.
it's in our blood. We need that turn two Gwenom. So if we have turn three mana, like off of, I don't know, Ancient Tomb Mox Diamond or City of Traders Mox Diamond, and we can cast one of these, have that turn three cast. The
Makes sense.
second thing these cards do is when you're storming off and you want to make black mana, which is important because we are playing, demonic tutor effects, so we need to have mana, actual factual mana to cast our
Mm-hmm.
spells from our hand. You'd be surprised how, few rituals there are in the deck. You can't hit Dark Ritual every time. You can't hit
Yeah.
Cabal Ritual every time. So it's just paying 3 life to make 2 black. That gets you from it bridges the gap between top of your deck and actually playing Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, that's sweet. And I've, like I said, I've been playtesting this deck a lot, and based on vibes, which is how apparently everyone builds their decks, me
Hell yeah.
included, it is insanely consistent how like you get a turn 3 swing. Like it just happens most of the time in the gold fishing. So hats off to you for how you brewed this. I think it's really, really, really good as it stands.
I am proud of how consistent it is.
Yeah,
It's why
I
I'm
think it's
willing
sick.
to mulligan so aggressively for it. I also would like to say there are some win conditions in this deck that are a little hidden.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, let's hit them.
So the other one I want to talk about is Gary Saw in half. Just will win you the game. You stormed off. You saw this thing in half. Each opponent loses like 30 life. You win the
Yeah.
game. Gary's already a good card, and Saw in half are already playing for the Broodlord combo. So once my other 2 combos are exhausted, that's the next combo I'm looking for. Yep, you found him. That's the guy. Tendrils of Agony. It's really easy to get up to enough Storm to Tendrils, Yogg-Will Tendrils again, the Legacy
So
Classic.
cool.
This deck can just turn into Manual Storm with these win cons. That goes for the Extort creatures too.
Yeah, I was curious about those. Those were ones I had big questions about just because I was like, is this good enough? Like, I'm paying black mana to extort people. Like, is it because you're getting low on life, or is it because you want to just finish like
It's
killing people?
the number one things these guys do is gain you life. It's hard to get consistent good life gain, especially if you get unlucky off the top, if you're not hitting your tutors. But these guys they'll shove you over the finish line. They kind of suck, but they're also creatures for your Viscera effects, which we'll talk about in a second. They will drain people to death, and worst case, they're like the 5th win condition.
Nice.
You will cast enough spells to get these to kill people. It's going to take a while, and
Yeah.
you might need some help along the way with like a Tendrils or a Shard
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah,
But these can kill people.
that's sick. Okay, yeah, I was curious because I was goldfishing with them, and the hard thing about goldfishing is if you don't take this deck all the way to like I've won the game, it's hard to keep track of life totals throughout the whole thing. But it's something I'd recommend doing, and it might be why these cards are all stars when you actually see how quickly you're burning through your life total.
Yeah, especially when you're on low life totals. Once again, I had a game in tournament where I had to win off of 7 life, and hitting that life gain is it's so important.
Yeah.
Especially just, going +3 on a couple cards. It's real good.
That's awesome. I think next, we can keep delving into mana. Let's just cover the mana sources real quick in the creature slots. So Diamond Lion's another LED, right? You want to be able to get this out the turn before you cast your Gwenom.
Yeah.
get rid of your hand.
This card is so bad, but it does pull. It
Yeah.
does work. It does work. It does work. I swear.
Yeah. It's like a more mana efficient blood vessel, or no, it's better than these. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
it's
like an Arsenal
definitely
card.
something.
Yeah.
It's a card that I'm glad this deck can play.
Yeah, me too. Other mana engines, that's pretty much it. Why don't we go into why we're running all these 0-drop creatures?
They are important for a number of reasons. One, I really wanted to enable culling the weak style effects because they're
Yeah.
so strong, and I don't
They
have
are.
Ragrak in my command zone.
Yeah.
Big L's. My
Mhm.
bad, I guess.
Yeah. Rod Gwenom? Gwen?
Please on God.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they enable all your sacrifice effects. They also, these Viscera effects, I want to talk about these guys
Yeah, let's talk about them.
because they are so important. I think this is the biggest cook that I had. That these filterers to get you through, if I hit one of these, I feel so safe about storming off. I'm like, I can't brick anymore. Especially Umbral Caller Zealot. It says
This one's
creature
so cool.
or artifact. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why it has that text on it, but it sure does.
Right.
So as you're just going through, you're putting a bunch of artifacts, a bunch of creatures, and these just let you filter through. So it ties back into the 0-drops. Paying 0, paying no life, just to like store a top. I don't know how to. What would you call it? What would you call it? A top reset?
I usually, for these kinds of things, like when you talk about something like a Dragon Rage channeler, it's not card advantage, it's called card selection. So you get to basically select what cards you're seeing next. You're not drawing them, but with Citadel or with Gwenom/Citadel effects, it is basically like you're drawing new cards or getting rid of them. So yeah, just like you're storing mana with these creatures, you're storing card selection when you have one of these sack effects.
And in this deck, card selection is card advantage because
Yeah,
the only thing that can stop you is a land.
Yeah.
Or silent.
Your worst enemy. Oh, real quick, I do want to shout out the primer for this second. I thought was so funny. If you get a chance, go watch this.
I stand by it all. Like it's entirely accurate.
Every time.
Bro.
I've went through this a couple times. Yeah, banger. Probably the best primer I've ever read.
Thank you. Put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah,
Got a lot of
it
people to
shows.
review
It
it. That was
shows.
really important. Giving back to the
Okay,
community,
sweet.
you know?
Some other cards that we have here are some select stacks pieces. Why did you choose to include these in what we're calling a manual storm deck?
So when I first built the deck, it was entirely dedicated to storming off, right? Entirely dedicated. I thought it would be hard. My bad. It's pretty darn
Turn
easy to
three.
storm off. You don't need a lot of dedicated cards for it. And in fact, as long as they're not lands, you just get to cast them, so they don't really stop you. So Dothy is here because it gives you like some longevity. I'm not thinking about it as a stacks piece. I'm thinking about it as I might get to steal a card that I get to use piece.
Sure.
If I get to
Like
steal a
Grand
counterspell,
Abolitor or something, yeah.
exactly. Like, yeah, if someone had a Voice of Victory and I get to like kill it with a Fatal Push, like that's pretty good. The thing is, the cards that you can put in this deck that are like dedicated to a value plan, there aren't that many of them. We're playing mono black. So
this is it.
we got Dothy, we got Oppo. So Oppo also plays double duty because we are playing Scheming Symmetry. So we do have the Scheming Symmetry Oppo plan.
Yet another win condition.
Yet another win condition. Yeah, also I didn't mention in win condition, but we also do have Praetor's Grasp, which, Steel Authorical.
Yeah.
GG's. We are on Tainted Pact. Mono black Tainted Pact land base. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Oppo pulls double duty. I don't really think about it as like a stacks piece. If I'm late in the game and like I haven't swung with Gwenom, these are cards that just give me a little bit of reach because, I don't have much reach in the late game. So
yeah,
if I can steal something with Oppo, like.
The other thing they do is sometimes you have a little extra mana that you can capitalize on in early turns and tempo the rest of the table. Like I'm going to OBM the board and shut people down, or kill Dranniths, like OBM is such a good card. I think it's really interesting that Blue Farm is experimenting with cutting it, but in this kind of deck, it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, it does all the jobs that you want. Sometimes opposing OBMs can be problems if you're like relying on top. It kills things that matter. You know how many people you can get to convince to kill like a Drannith or something? Well, probably not any good players, but like, in Swiss, you might be able to kill some Dranniths with it. I haven't got to do it, but like, I'm just imagining.
Hey, there's a difference between good players and greedy players, and it's a very thin line.
It's a very thin line, yeah.
Yeah. What about this Shard of the Nightbringer?
You ever wanted to gain like 20?
Yeah, I have. This is sick. This is super cool.
That's really all it does is it gains you like 16 or 18 or something like that, and that's really good.
Yeah.
When life is your main pressure, people don't counter these spells as aggressively as they probably should.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm running low on life and I'm trying to beat a Ristic Study or whatever, this might be a tutor target. Like I'll
Nice.
just grab my Shard of the Nightbringer. People won't interact with it. They won't realize that this is just like draw 20.
Right.
When
Literally.
yeah, so people don't interact with this card as aggressively as they probably should have, and I
Mm-hmm.
think Gary is generally more scary. I don't know why. People just don't respect Shard of the Nightbringer, so
So funny. So funny.
I tend to whip it out more than Gary, especially
Nice.
since Gary, it's a win condition. Gary can actually win me the game. Shard can't, but
It's
it
just
will
gonna
gain me a bunch of life.
boost you temporarily.
Yeah, draw a whole bunch of cards.
All right, we got about 10 minutes left, so I was thinking we just power through the rest of the cards. If there's anything you want to bring up that we haven't talked about, just kind of stop me as we go, okay?
Sure, I think we've kind of covered most of it. The deck is
Yeah.
mana and win conditions and a couple of
Yeah.
cards that are okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't talked about the haste enablers.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, let's
how
cover the
important they
hastes. Yeah. So only one in the creature slot is this crashing drawbridge, right?
Yep, that's the only.
Okay, sweet.
We're playing
Crashing
like
drawbridge.
it's all
real quick-
artifacts, right?
Yeah. Oh, okay, sure. First one is going to be these lava spur boots.
Huge.
Sick.
You can tutor it with Tezzeret. I don't know why, but a hasty. Well, I do know why. It's because laying out a Gwenom sucks. But a hasty Gwenom is like 4 times better than just a Gwenom you lay out on turn 2.
Yeah.
People don't
So
think about it.
If you have options between casting a turn 2 Gwenom and then passing turn, or casting a turn 3 Gwenom with haste, are you picking turn 3?
Every time, yes.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
The best hands in this deck are hasty Gwenom hands.
Sweet. Yeah. Okay, so we have boots, we have lightning greaves, which are, every casual player should know these. And then swifties,
Swifties is the worst, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
necessary evil. And
The
then the
best
last haste enabler.
This is the best one. This
Yes.
card is so freaking good. I love this card so much.
Mm-hmm.
Just it does not matter what you do. You do not get a chance to interact with Gwenom before it has haste. It just has haste now.
So cool. Yeah, it's freaking
Off of a
awesome.
land.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. The other cards I was going to cover that people may not have seen before, Cruel Tutor is really great. Like, probably better than a DT once you have a Gwenom active, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, just putting a card on top's a banger.
Yeah.
We do run a board wipe, so there's a little bit of interaction here.
We did it, team. We can interact once.
Yeah, we can interact. Just like you said, these are all tutors, these are mana and kill spells.
Tainted Pact is kind of fun because you get to look at the card before you exile it with Tainted Pact.
Yes.
So you can kind of
So cool.
double flip your way through, so you can always get the card that you want on top where it matters. Yeah.
And a card to hand.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to cover in this artifact slot are, in my mind, the artifact version of your Viscera Seers. So these are Chromatic Sphere, Chromatic Star, Codex Shredder, Ghoul Caller's Bell, Conjurer's Bauble,
Pixis.
and Pixis. Yeah. Pixis.
Dude, I call them the lantern control cards.
Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah.
They are just one-time resets as you're going through. Anybody who watched finals or was there knows that I popped a Pixis in finals and almost won off of it. In fact, I did punt. I should have gone harder on my Necro to try to find a saw in half, but
Oh yeah.
it is what it is. Yeah, so Pixis pulled work. This card has more text than you realize. Like, I just ended up exiling a defense grid underneath it and then
So cool.
popped it up.
That's
but these
so cool.
are ostensibly resets. Codex Shredder is a regrow. That mattered during the tournament.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, which they reset you as you go through. They can all be sacrificed also to your. They can be activated then sacrificed to your zealot. They also turn on early mopals, which is great.
Alongside our handy dandy.
Single
artifact
Vault of
land.
Whispers.
Yeah.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think these are really strong. Golem's Heart's another one people might not know, but this is just a continuous life loss or life gain to keep you going in these Citadel turns, right?
Yeah, it also goes with top to get you
Nice.
drawn. Doesn't go infinite, but it does get you infinite draws, which is not nothing.
No, definitely not. And then the last 2 cards here. If you have a Gwenom active and you can get a Necropotence out, it's the same thing as a Sensei's Dividing Top. You just exile the top card if you don't want to cast it. So
Yeah,
and also it's Necropotence. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
alone.
Necropotence, yeah. I will say people may be tempted to keep early One Ring hands with this deck or keep early Necro hands with this deck. I wouldn't. The deck is around Gwenom. If you necro and you go 11 deep in your necro and you hit like Bogart Trawler and Diamond
Yeah.
Lion, it's not
Like,
my fault.
fuck. Yeah.
It's only there to get you through.
Yeah,
It's
and
not,
I
it's not a
think that brings
gameplay.
us. Let's do some playtests. This is what I was really pumped about doing. Um,
Well, I can tell you
so
what this is.
yeah, it's not a keep. Is what this is. So this is a first 7. This is not a Gwenom.
Nope. Count to 5. It's not there.
Yeah, second 7. What do you think about this hand?
This is a turn 2 Gwenom because we can Imperial Seal for some mana. Probably Culling the weak here, right?
That's what I was thinking too. You could lead on more stable mana too. Like if let's play this out because this is so just so people know the goal is turn 2 Gwenom, turn 3 swing, right? So we're gonna go here for a swamp for the sake of this. I will also be tracking the life total right up here so people can just see how quickly you do run out. Imp Seal. So my thought process is we have the double black here for the Ornithopter, so we could get either a Mana Vault or Culling the Weak. The extra black mana might be useful, but I don't know if it will be next turn.
So the other thing that I would consider here is whether or not we want to Cruel Tutor on 2 for a Haste Enabler. It's definitely an idea. I probably would lean against it, but
On turn 2?
because we could on turn 2 go for a Haste Enabler, try to have a Hasty Gwenom on 3. The thing is, we have to tutor for LED at that point.
Yeah.
To have enough mana, and I don't think I want to do that. So it's just something I wanted to throw out there. It's definitely something to consider that all your tutors like.
Yeah.
It's okay to not have a turn 2 Gwenom if you have a turn 3 Gwenom with Haste.
With Haste, yeah. We'll just get a Culling for now. Culling the Weak on top, go to our next turn, play our Phyrexian Tower, Cull for 4 black, and diff 5 for a Gwenom. Hopefully we survive a turn cycle.
Guys, it's not a problem.
It's
Trust.
fine. God,
I
I'm playing
definitely
mono
won't win.
black. It's not a big deal.
I'm glad we both politic the same way.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My deck sucks, guys. You see the cards I'm playing?
This is a meme
Oh, we
around
hit
here.
Vampiric Tutor, so like.
So we gain 4 off our attack, ostensibly. What are you thinking
matters
about with
a
this
lot.
Vamp Tutor?
It really depends on what my opponents have. I don't know. Our hand's so stacked that we could like make all the wrong decisions here and be fine.
Yeah.
We can cast any spell in our hand. We have 2 tutors because we can sacrifice Gwenom. I would probably grab Defense Grid.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. Like just keep presenting threats, I would say, is the name
Especially
of the
threats
game.
that you can replace, because Defense Grid is not game losing if you lose it.
Yeah.
Like, who cares about this magic card? Like,
So we got D-Grid.
oh, we have Wish Claw on top? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's like if
Why
they
can't I have this shit?
Yeah,
bro?
if they counter Defense Grid, fine. Here's a Wish Claw. I'm at 34 still. All right. They counter this. Okay. Here's a Chrome Mox. Probably imprinting.
Peer. We don't need Peer at this
Yeah,
point.
Peers. Yeah, I feel you. Presented with like a little tough decision here, but it's like I think you can still. intent
I think we
from
fire one of the tutors from our hand, right? We just cast Sacrifice, then like Dark. But do we have Dark Petition on? Do we have Spell Mastery? Probably no,
one,
right?
2.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah. So my thought process is, I feel like you have to intent here because let's say your sacrifice or your tutor from hand gets countered, then you can't cast the spell anymore.
It's true. If our sacrifice gets countered, yeah, the main problem is once we cast this Diabolic Intent, we are locked out of using the sacrifice to cast any of the spells in our hand,
Sure.
which I guess it's more or less the same deal. We could just cast the Cruel Tutor. No, then we're locked out the same way.
I think this actually works. That look at this. So if we saw Gwenom here, right? No one's countering a
Yep.
saw in half on a Gwenom.
No one's countering us on half.
Yeah.
And now we can just cast our...
And now you can intent safely.
Now we can safely intent. That's totally fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Good line.
2 power, still alive, off the Heartless Summoning. You just have to. I mulligan the deck. The reason it's hard to mulligan the deck is because like if any of these resolve, you just win, basically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, exactly.
you want to kind of play it out as if each one is getting countered, and you just see it's just gas and gas.
It's all gas, bro.
Gas.
It's all gas.
Yeah, I'm not
Gas
hitting
all the
lands
way
ever.
down.
So
Yeah.
I think once you get going, it's kind of just a fun thing to play out, just like a Citadel is, and that's why this deck is so fun, is because it's Citadel on a stick. But I think that we're kind of out of time at this point, so I'm just going to wrap this. It was super fun chatting with you about this deck. I'm putting it together as soon as I can and going to whip this out at locals and yap my butt off about why my Gwenom doesn't need to be killed.
Yeah, it's not a big deal, man.
Not a big
I'm
deal.
just gonna hit a couple lands.
Totally.
Like, oh no.
Yeah. Oh, I bricked.
Yeah.
See?
Oh, bro, what do you think the odds of me bricking are? Now I have an actual answer to that.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and I'm sure Jared's super down to work with you a little bit more in depth and go over that stuff, just because I'm sure he would play this deck too. He loves Citadel. So.
I just think the deck is very strong.
Yeah,
it's more strong than I ever would give it credit for.
So consistent. It's like so consistently a turn 3 deck.
Yep, 100%. I think I would have done much better in the tournament if I just like I think I got pretty unlucky, all things considered. I had 2 Molda 3s, and in the end I ended up drawing in finals. So it's like
I think you did. You did.
Yeah.
I think you did phenomenally. I mean, first of all, you're the only result for this deck. Second of all, I looked up like Crick, I think. No, I'm just going to do a quick screen share before we leave. I'm pretty sure like the top three results for any mono black deck. So if we go to mono black, it's just Crick, Son of Yawgmoth with 20 plus entries. I guess we'll do all commanders, sure. Okay, well now it's a little bit more. But okay, ignore everything I said. I have no idea.
One entry down there.
What I will say about
that?
Gwenom, this is a great result for this deck to have right out of the gate. So I do think it is going to be really, really strong. And I'm excited to see it do that. So, okay. I think we're wrapping up. Luke, thank you so much for being on this. I know that we went a little over time, but I had a blast chatting with you, and I'm pumped to try this thing out. Are you going to be coming to any other tournaments outside of Washington anytime soon? I'm guessing not with the college.
I'm not a big traveler.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will definitely be, at LDXP Tacoma.
Sweet. When is that?
Yeah. It's October 31st.
October. Okay, that's right after Fishbowl. Probably will not go, but exactly. I wish I could. Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's in my hometown, so I couldn't not go to.
Makes total sense. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
not a big traveler, but definitely a brewer.
Yeah. Well, I'll be. I come up to Seattle all the time. My family lives there, so I'll be hitting you up next time I'm there to see if there's any tournaments going on.
Come to one of these cEDHs.
Yeah, I will.
They're great.
Yeah, I totally will. Everyone from Seattle I've met so far and played with has been awesome. Like really phenomenal people. So
yeah, we have a nice little scene.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate having you on, and thanks for talking about the deck.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
Sweet. All right. Until next time, guys. Thanks so much for watching Bite Size Magic. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you want a shot at winning a free deck, just like last week's winner, all you have to do is subscribe and drop a question for us in the comments. We'll be doing a viewer Q&A episode soon, and we want to tackle the best questions you've got. Check out the deck below using the Moxfield link, and follow me on Twitter for more bite-sized takes. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.